I was putting this thing together in the last week or so in my mind. And then I had it on my mind and how I wanted to go about it, because I basically do this for clients as it's almost like a consultation. The first time that somebody tells me I want to buy, I go like, okay, well, let's start from like a step before that. Where, how, and all that stuff. And so while I've been doing this a bunch of times, I said, you know what? I think I can probably put together almost like a 1 hour class where I can kind of prepare people to know what to expect. Because you hear a lot of things and everybody's experience is different. And some people, it's really pleasant and they find their house, and then there's people that are selling it are two elderly people that are very sweet and they see themselves in them, and then they make an offer and they gladly accept and everything goes well and it's beautiful. Some people look at houses for a while, for 6 months, and then stop and then look again because they're just not ready or they just haven't found what they like. And so, especially because of the way that things are right now after the pandemic and how the market is, I thought it would be a really good idea to kind of tell you, hey, out there, it looks like this. And if everybody's in the same page, then you can be a little bit more efficient because there aren't many homes on the market right now. And so it makes it more difficult to find the one. And once you find the one, which is probably a good hot house, a lot of people want it. And we have to go to battle together and put in offers and strategize so we can kind of win the bid. And so I'm going to get started. I think more people are coming, but I've gotten messages that people are working. So people can come in whenever. So I'm going to get started. So the purpose of this thing, like I was telling you, was really just to kind of give you a good idea of give you as much data and as much content as I can so that you can make decisions about what you want to do with buying a home, whether it is to hold out, which I think you're going to find it's a good idea to put your foot in the gas, or to move forward and move forward with confidence. So you feel like, okay, I know what I want to do. I know how to do it. And I have the team that's going to get it done. And so that's why I put this thing together. I broke this thing down in basically three parts. Part number one is going to be the market. I'm going to talk about my side of the market, which the market is driven by two things, buyers and sellers, and also the economy, which in turn, it's driven by interest rates or drives interest rates. And so I'm going to talk the first part about how the market is doing and what's going on out there. And then I'm going to give it up to Deborah so that she can tell you what the mortgage side of it looks like. And so that we can put those two things together and then move forward with how we're going to strategize to buy a house and how we're going to go about that, or how I like to go about it. So you guys are probably you're going to be looking in Nassau County, or you would like to look in Nassau County, but sometimes you get spillover into Suffolk County because prices in Nassau County are high. And unless, depending on what your needs and wants and must-haves are, unless you have a blank check, you're gonna end up going to Suffolk. And I call it Eastern Nassau, that the part that is basically Western Suffolk, which is Lindenhurst, Farmingdale, Massapequa, Babylon area, those areas that are still really nice, but they're not so far away. People think that Suffolk County means like Riverhead, and that's not necessarily the case. There are some parts out there that are far, but depends on what you want. Some people that I was talking to just now said, I want a big lot. That's really what I care about. I don't really care what the house looks like. I'm in construction, I'll fix it, but I want 3/4 of an acre. And so the only way to find that in Nassau County is literally buying a Brookville estate, or you go into Suffolk County. And so that's what we did. In Nassau County specifically, and I go by counties because they kind of set the precedent for what the towns that you're going to be looking at. So if you're going to be looking on the water, like Claudia, I think you guys want to go somewhere in the water so you can have that dock for the boat. And then Danny, you guys are on a different budget, so you're going to be looking in a different area. But Nassau County in general, and this is very telling, and the reason why I added it is because it kind of tells you an idea how tough the market is right now. In June last year, a year ago, there were 1,789 new listings on the market, right? So every month, there were 1,700 new listings. Last month, there were only 1,000 new listings. So that was a big decrease on how many listings we saw in the market. Now, what happens? You have the same amount of buyers or more buyers looking at a less amount of properties that come out. So when a good one comes out, usually people flock to it and drives up the prices. Or the ones that are sitting on the market, you can really negotiate. And I've had experience in the last couple of weeks with people that were looking during the pandemic when it was really, really kind of touch and go, when a lot of people were dying and you weren't really thinking about going out there. And if you were going out there, it was really freaky. I was out there looking at homes because these people wanted to snatch a deal. And they kind of did in a way. The other thing that's very telling that I like to tell buyers when they come out is about expectations about how the market is in regards to an offer versus what the house is ultimately going to sell for. Most people think that I'm going to negotiate and I'm going to offer 50,000 under so that we can meet in the middle somewhere. And if you look at the stats, the average selling price versus the listing price, meaning somebody was asking a certain amount and then they decided that they were going to sell for that other amount, was 2.1% in Nassau County. That means if they were asking 500,000, you minus 2.1% of that, and that was probably the price that it sold for. So it's very close to asking. That means that it could a lot of times be over asking because you get into bidding wars. Now, Claudia, this is great for you, and that's why I told you fix up your house because it's going to be much better to sell your house if you're aggressive with the price. You're going to get a lot of more money for it than kind of waiting it out or letting it sell as it is. So that's really good on the selling part.
It's definitely better that way. Jack is the one that is guiding most of the contractors. So he's a little tired, but I told him, you know what? It's better for us. So we had to do it.
Yeah, visualize yourself on the boat dock. That's what you have to do.
Yes.
So and the last thing that kind of those two things add up to the median sale price in Nassau County, which you can see went up over $40,000 in a span of a year. So the median sale price was $560 in June 2019. The median sale price in Nassau in last month was $600,000. And the month before that was $575, and the month before that was $539. So it does go up and down, but it just kind of tells you that the market is tough. There's in a lot of property, there's a limited amount of inventory, and there are a lot of buyers out there. And Deborah can tell you, I have sent Deborah in the last 2 weeks more people that I've sent her in the last, I'm going to say in the last 2 months, because people are interested. They're watching the news, or they're getting mail and they're getting emails saying interest rates are really low. It's time to take advantage. Suffolk County, I'm not going to go into too much, but it's basically the same picture. Suffolk County is much more broader. You have very rural areas and you have very high areas that are very expensive. Smithtown, I have my office manager sold the property this weekend. Literally an open house. She had 100 people at the open house and the property sold $75,000 over asking. And it wasn't a cheap house. It was $600,000 and she got a $675 offer, which is nuts. And so there are areas that are still very competitive: Comac, Smithtown, Farmingdale, Massapequa, but there are other areas that are a little bit more accessible. And this is just median prices. Don't get scared. They're still the $300,000 to $400,000 range, and that's the type of property. There's a $400,000 to $500,000 range, or $550,000, I would say. That's a different type of property. And then there's the higher end stuff that takes a little bit longer to sell and that you can negotiate a little bit harder. So the numbers around Suffolk look more or less the same, even though they're lower. Suffolk County is always sold a little bit cheaper. Taxes are lower as well, so they're a little bit more accessible. So now I'm going to hand it over to Deborah so she can put the piece of the puzzle on the mortgage side, and then I'll take over from there and take it home.
Okay, so I totally agree with Luis. I think that the market, why you're getting so many buyers, honestly, it's because of the rates. When you look at the interest rates right now, they are the lowest they ever been in history. They haven't been, I mean, just I would say like 8 months ago, they were close to 5%, not that long ago. So that is definitely, people that couldn't qualify now can qualify. So it gives people way more opportunity than before, even though prices are, going up, which I didn't even know that, Luis, that was like $40,000 up in sales, like the price for Nassau County. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's amazing to know those numbers. I'm going to, the requirements for the mortgage, which is, tax return, W-2s, pay stubs, and bank statements. I tell a lot of my buyers, no money under the mattress, no cash deposits, because they will not take that. We can do a gift. It has to be, we have to go about that in a way that we don't have headaches later. But but what if I didn't file my 2019 tax return? If you are not self-employed, that's totally fine. We can use the W-2s. I think I got it with Claudia. We go over everything, all this paperwork with everybody. And then, as you talk, as the mortgage experience, as much as like what to expect, what to avoid, always provide the income. When you're going through the process, when you start the mortgage process, it's definitely not the time to switch jobs. I tell everybody, because they, once you provide me pay stuff, does not mean they're not going to call your job 2 days. Actually, now they're calling you 2 days before you closing, and they're going to be like, are you still this person, whoever, it's still employed and has a job. So they will confirm that you're still employed. So you want to make sure you don't make,
What if I change jobs because I got an offer that's double the amount of money I'm making? Is that still a good idea or no?
Yes. Any changes, like you're going to do it. It depends if it's in the same line of work, because what if it's doing something else? That could be a problem. You could make double of the work, but if it's not in the same line of work, I had somebody at some point that he was getting paid more money, but he wasn't getting overtime. That was going to be an issue. So you have to look at different, definitely. I'm not saying that you can, but you have to talk to the, when you're going through a loan and say, listen, I got offered this. Can I switch it? Or do I wait? That's something that you have to really know before you just make a decision and switch, and then you have issues with your loan, because it's not done. Just because you started or because you got even a commitment doesn't mean you're going to go, close. There's people that they got a commitment, they got the approval, and they go get a car and they think they're done, and they lose the whole loan, because, you can't take any other debts. You're buying a house, nothing else. Once you're done with that, then the day you get your keys, you can do whatever you want. You won't hear from me ever again. That's the day you're free. Yes. So, that's what to expect, to keep the income, because they will check it. They're not applying anything new, as far as, they're not change jobs. They're not making any deposits like cash. Definitely not. That's a big no-no.
Gotcha.
I have all this money, and figured out to put it before I get the 2 months of bank statements. I only need 2 months. How I got that, I don't really care, but I will need 2 months. And once we provide that, the underwriter is going to be looking at every single deposit you made. And we do have programs for first-time home buyers for the state of New York. I mean, doesn't apply for everybody. There are conventional loans, which they are more strict. They want a good credit score. They don't want to see like late payments. They are based on your debt to income ratio, like how much you make and how much you're spending. For a conventional loan, you can go up to 50%. For an FHA, you can go up to 56%. For Sonny Mae, which is what they give you assistance, they're way tighter. So they don't even allow you to go to 45%. It's really, really strict. I mean, it's a great program. It's, they give you don't have to pay back, but not, if you have the money, I would say just don't even bother. It's more for people that don't have the money. And there's a programs too, as a fixer upper, what you can buy the house, but you don't like the kitchen, you want to make changes. The bank can do a renovation loan where you can take that money, hire a professional. You have to hire a contractor, a general contractor, where he's going to put an estimate together. and do the work, but you can definitely use that to help you if you don't like something in a house. And I think what Louis put it in the next slide, it's amazing, which is the mortgage payment. When you look at the price and the interest rate, and when you look at the payments and you look at the rents, like the rents are what? Can you rent anything below 2,500, Louis?
No. So the reason why I put this part here is because I feel that this brings it home. I'm telling you how prices are so high, and you know it's crazy out there. And why should I pay over asking for a home? You know, that's almost like price gouging. You know, people are taking advantage of me. Ultimately, this kind of tells you what I did was I took the same house, right? This is the same numbers for the same house. And I kind of went through the thought process of a buyer that says, you know what, prices are too high right now, and I'm going to wait until prices drop in order to jump in the market. What drives the prices to go down? It's the interest rates. At the end of the day, buyers and sellers are going to be pushed to make a decision because of the economy, and the economy is determining what the interest rates are going to be like. And so this is the same house, right, with the same taxes, that right now during the seller's market where we are, it's worth $449. The taxes are about $10,000 at 3.1%, which is what they told us today. The mortgage is $2,340, right? If you go to a neutral market, which is a market where you don't have as much competition, there is a lot of inventory on the market, and so there is a good flow of buyers and sellers, and it's comfortable. You can see a property, you don't really have to rush to it, you don't have to move quickly, you may not have to get into a bidding war. It's just okay. That house, it's going to be dropping in price, and so we're going on the downward slope, and that same house, maybe 5 years from now, it's going to be worth $415. That's about a 5% decrease in price, right? But what happens? The price is being pushed down because interest rates are going up. Now, the same house with the same taxes, now worth $415 at 5%, is $250 more expensive than it would have been to buy it 5 years ago on your monthly payment. Now, let's say we don't buy anything and we say we're going to wait for the market to crash, which is the worst thing you can kind of hope for. But let's wait until the prices go down so low that I can buy for cheap. Okay, what happens to mortgage rates when you get to that point? They become 7, 8, 9, 10. There are people that bought their houses in the 90s and the interest rate was, 14%. But the prices were $300,000. Now, at $400,000, the same exact house with $10,000 taxes at 7% is $2,900. So does it make sense to jump into the market today with the conditions we have today? Being difficult, being a high-end, high-price market. Yeah, you're saving yourself $500 a month, which equals to $6,000 a year, which equals a bunch of money over the life of the loan. Not only that, you are saving money by the amount of money that you are not paying in interest. So would you rather pay money, would you rather buy a car, or would you rather buy a lollipop for $5, or would you rather buy it on interest rate for $4, but at the end of the day, you're paying 50 cents every time you make a payment, and at the end of the time that you're done paying it, you're paying $8 for the same lollipop. So it ends up being always more expensive with a higher interest rate, and that's why it makes sense to do a couple of things. One, buy when the interest rates are low, and two, consult with a mortgage broker so that they can tell you what to do to get your interest rate as high as possible so that you can qualify for the lowest interest rate as possible. So those things make it a really, really good idea to buy now. It's not speculation. It's not Newsday. It's really just going through the numbers and making sense of what it would look like in different scenarios. That's why a lot of people are buying now, and that's why a lot of people have been buying, and it's a seller's market. And a lot of people benefit from this. People that have their home as their retirement can sell it and make money and move on to something else, or retire and take their piggy bank out. And also buyers can benefit because they're buying at a low interest rate and it's going to be more affordable. So now, seller's market, we are here. What are we going to do about it? The results of limited inventory and historic low rates create the seller's market that we're in. But now we know that a seller's market is not really a scary thing for a buyer. It's actually, it could be looked at as a good thing, but there are strategies and there are strengths that we can use in order to make those moves to be successful at buying that house. So I believe that buying a house, it's a team effort. It takes a village to buy a house. And why does it take a village? Because it takes you guys, it takes me, it takes Deb, it takes a home inspector if you're doing a home inspection, a mortgage broker, your parents if they're helping you out with money, and maybe a couple other people, your boss to write a letter or whatever else. If you're taking money out for a 401k, it takes a little village in order to do these things successfully. And the good thing about having a group of people or a team together that have played games before is that they're going to play smoothly. It's not like you grab the best of the best and then you put them together. That first soccer game, you're going to miss a lot of plays. You're going to miss a lot of passes because, you know, these guys haven't played together before. They don't really understand each other. But the attorney that I work with, and Debbie, have been working for the last 2 years on over, let's say, 12 deals at this point. And so I know that I can text Deb at 3 o'clock in the morning and she'll wake up. I can shake her out of bed like this. I'll be like, Deb, what's going on with Devin and with Daniel?
I do the same to him. Yes, we do the same.
What's going on with Devin? And she'll wake up like, what? Well, you know, the appraisal went out and we're waiting for commitment and at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so that's the good thing about having a team together. We are able to work, we have worked together. We know what we need of each other and we can push forward. And that's
also
a great
too,
part.
right, Louis? Like when you put in an offer, you know.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go down that route because I think it's important. Once you put a team together, you can use that as a tool to leverage that tool when you're making an offer. The other part of a strength that I think a buyer should have is the motivations. Some people come to me and they say, well, you know, we want to find something that's really cheap and we don't want to spend a lot of money and we don't really have to move. I can wait till next year. That's not somebody who's motivated. Somebody who's motivated, and that's not somebody who's going to get the best deal because they don't or they do care. Somebody who's motivated knows exactly why they're doing what they're doing. Whether they decided that they're not going to make the landlord rich anymore, or it's a really good time to sell and they want to cash out on their investment. They want independence. You want to move out from under your parents. You want to grow your family, or you're getting married. You know, there's a lot of scenarios, but all those scenarios can motivate you to make decisions. And if you know what those things are, this whole thing is not pretty. Not the whole process is pretty. And I like to have fun with it. And as you can see, I'm super passionate about real estate because I think it can be done in a good way. It's just you need to set the expectation for the other party so they know what's coming. A part of this thing that I'm going to do later is tell you exactly how the process goes because most people don't know what the next step is on the process. And so you are telling them, make this decision, but they don't know that decision has repercussions forward and maybe 2-3 steps ahead. But if you know, okay, we are looking at homes, but after we look at a home, we're going to make an offer, and this is how we're going to make an offer, and then we're going to do a home inspection. You know what the next steps are, and you can move forward. And so this, after doing a lot of working with a lot of people, I think this is the perfect profile of a successful buyer, that they're ready, that they already kind of answer all the questions. All the stuff that you're doing today is really good for getting ready. Having all those questions and answers, knowing that is the right time, knowing why you're purchasing, and kind of sorting the mental part of it so that when you decide to put the team together, you are good to go. The willing part of it is all those motivations, everything that kind of it's going to set you up to make the purchase. And the able part of it, it's more of the financial part. Are you ready? Because everybody may want to do it and may be ready to do it, but maybe you don't have the down payment ready. Maybe you're waiting for your parents. Maybe you have to sell a home before you can purchase the next home because you're taking the proceeds of that sale and putting it as a down payment somewhere else. What does that look like? What do you have to do to be able to pull the trigger on the next deal? And so once you're ready, once you're willing, and once you're able, it's time to go and find a home. Now, this is all great, and I'm kind of running through it a little bit, but I want to get to the last two parts, which is this and the steps of the process, because that's where most people have questions. How do we do what we do, and why are you always posting about your successes and never about your failures? Well, I think I have, by failing the first few times or by not getting offers accepted, figured out what it takes to be successful at getting an offer accepted. Does it happen every single time? No. But my batting average is much higher after a couple of things. I have sold a few homes and I know what to do. I have sold a few homes myself, meaning I was a listing agent, and I received an offer from somebody who was very professional, and I said, wow, this is a really good idea. Now I'm going to use that skill to present my buyer's offers so that I can get those offers accepted as well. And so I involve your loan officer on the offer process. I will put him, so when I write up an offer, I put up the offer. Basically is a piece of paper that says how are you going to buy the home, who's buying it, what home they're buying, how they're paying for it, and any contingencies. If you're going to do a home inspection, if you need to close within 30 days, or you can close within 90 days. Those terms go in the offer. Most people send that piece of paper and a pre-approval from a bank, and that's it. What I do is that I layer certain things, because I find that as much as it is an emotional purchase for the buyer, it's also an emotional sell for the seller. They say that the third most stressful moment for a person is when they sell their home. The first one is when somebody dies. The second one is a divorce. So, and another thing that it's important to know is that most people only do this, let's say, twice, 3 times in a year, in a lifetime. So if you don't know what you're doing, it could be very stressful. And so what I do is that I put together almost like a profile of who you are as a buyer and what your strengths are, so that the person on the other side says, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They seem professional. I know a lot about the buyer. The seller can find out information about you, that you work in cars, that you are a teacher, that you are a fireman, that you have 2 kids, that you would love to be in that school district. All those things that make it very personal are the ones that are going to set you apart from the second buyer that made the same exact offer. So I involved Debbie. I said, Deb, I'm going to CC you on the email to the seller, and I'm going to put your information just in case they have any questions about the buyer's financials. I don't have that information. I don't know how much your down payment is. Oh, I do, but I don't know exactly the finances. I don't know, what your credit score is. I don't know any of those things, but Deb knows those things. And if the other agent wants to feel more comfortable, she's gonna, and if he's very good at his job, he's gonna call Deb and ask certain questions to make sure that you are an eligible buyer, a good buyer. And so I involve her in it right from the bat, so that the other agent feels very comfortable. So that he says, you know what, this person knows what they're doing. Let's. If I had to choose who's going to be easier to work with, I'm going to go with that guy.
And they reach out. Yes, they do reach out a lot. I get a lot of calls, like from from listing agents. They call and they say, I just got an offer, and I ask who's the name. I can't give your information. Like if I have somebody's information, I can't give like, oh, this is a credit score, but I can say, it's a conventional loan. They have good credit score. I won't say terms like that, but they have the funds. They, I ran through the system. I got an approval. I have a DU findings, which means that we ran through the computer and give us an approval, because before I send Luis a pre-approval, I have to run through a system to get an approval. So those things makes the listing agent more comfortable, and like, oh, and I say, do you want me to email you, because that doesn't have any personal information, but just your debt to income ratio, and your name, and that's approval. That's pretty much.
Another thing is that I have you guys, if we come into a point where there's multiple offers and they come back to us with something called highest and best, meaning they don't want to negotiate with every single person, but they want everybody to put in their best offer, their no regrets offer, and then they're going to make a decision. I not only send the best offer, have the conversation with you, but I also have you write a letter. and attach a picture of your family hugging, and say what you want from the house that you're going to move in, and how much love is going to be put into the house, and what your plans are for the house, and what your kids are going to go to that school district. All those things are going to set us apart from the next buyer who's only sending a pre-approval and a piece of paper with their offer details and nothing else. I like to think about the terms of the offer. Those are just as important as the offer itself. Why? Because if the person who you're buying a house from needs to also purchase a home, maybe they want to feel more comfortable knowing that you don't have to close right away, that you're going to give them time for them to find their home, because the same rush that you are finding a home, the same bidding battles that you're going to get into finding a home, they're going to have to do the same thing. And they're not going to want to feel like they're going to get kicked out of a house because they haven't found a home. But if you say, look, we're going to go into this deal together, and I will give you a certain amount of time, but it's going to be a more lenient time than just close in 30 days and move on, they may take your offer over somebody else's. If you have a good down payment, let's put that forward. Let's talk about how strong your down payment is over the other party who may only want to put $10,000 in contract and then put the rest of the 20% at closing. What if you put 15% at contract and then the last 5% at closing, so that you give that seller assurances that you're in it to win it, that you're in it and you want to buy this home, you're willing to put your dollars, you basically put your money where your mouth is. Do you need to sell before you purchase? So if you do need to sell before you purchase, then your home needs to be on the market before you start looking. The first question that I'm going to get once I say that the contingency for the purchase is that you sell your home is, does your buyer, the person that's buying your house, have a commitment? Meaning, have they already been approved by the bank on their loan? Because you know that unless the buyers do something really bad, they're going to get the mortgage. And so both deals are going to go through. If the first deal falls apart, then they can't purchase, and that's a liability. And so let's have those conversations about how we're going to go about making that purchase. How fast? Move fast to beat the competition. Home inspection and contract. Some people feel, and I just had this deal, I had a deal fall apart just now, because the buyers said, we're going to do the home inspection next weekend. We went to look at homes. We found the house on Saturday, put an offer, got the offer accepted. It was a bidding war, so we were just right there above the other person. And then they said, we're going to do a home inspection next week. The other buyer that was $5,000 under was willing to do an inspection within 24 hours. That home inspection is crucial. Why? The moment you do the home inspection, you decide whether you're moving forward or not. And that seller doesn't waste time from one week to the other and may lose other offers that were on the table, because those buyers, if they don't find out they have an offer accepted, they're going to move on to find something else. And so it is very important that you move quickly. And it's not about rushing you. It's about not losing that home. After we've looked at so many homes and you found the one, now to lose it because in the eyes of the seller, you're dragging your feet, it's terrible. And so knowing why moving fast is important, having that conversation, it's great. And signing contracts as well. I mean, if your attorney is on vacation and you can't sign contracts and becomes really complicated, that makes things difficult to negotiate. If you are very ready and able and you're ready to move fast, buyer, most likely your offer will be accepted and gladly will be accepted. And sometimes accepted under what a higher offer is, because the other agent, you have no idea how many times I have accepted offers I have advised my seller to accept an offer that's lower because the agent is easier to work with, because they're more professional, because they're easier to get on the phone, because they know what they're doing. And so the same thing happens to me. If I do everything possible to make myself friendly, honest, forthcoming, I will get that offer accepted over somebody who's barely doesn't speak any English and doesn't want to really answer the phone calls, or takes 3 days to answer emails. And so that's important. Have your agent prepare your attorney to receive contracts. Having that communication, the attorney that I work with, I text them directly. And I have worked with other agents, with other attorneys, that I have to go through their secretary. And so having the ability to reach that home, that attorney right away is crucial. Some decisions have to be made quickly, and that's important. So having the team off the bench ready to play when the whistle rings, it's really, really crucial. So those are things that most people don't know, and that your parents, your tío, your tía is like, oh, do it like this, do it like that. When I bought a home, it was done like this. When I bought a home, well, they bought a home in 1992 when things were different. Now, things may be a little bit different. And so this is kind of like the best practices that I found a buyer can have in order to be successful. Now, asking questions is so important. And I'm going to tell you why. I have found out from buyers after the fact that they didn't make an offer on a house because they didn't know that the oil tank was buried in the ground or it was in the basement. And that's really just asking questions. Asking a lot of questions makes you a more informed buyer, makes you more comfortable, makes you make stronger decisions because you know where you are confident about where you want to go, and then you can move forward. And so do not feel afraid of calling Deborah at midnight, just kidding, calling anybody or asking at any point any question that you don't know the answer to, because we do this 20 times a year, 30 times a year. Deborah does this 122 times a year.
Right.
but
and you know what?
We do this a lot, and sometimes
we don't want you guys going to bed, worry about it, stressed out, and it could be something so simple,
Right. So we do this so many times that sometimes it's something so small, something that seems really small to us that we overlook may seem a really important question to you. So feel free, or you have to feel comfortable asking questions that you don't know the answer to. And the last thing, and I think one of the most important things, is to have fun, to take things with a grain of salt, to be calm and try to take the emotions out of it, because some people are nice, some people make decisions and then change their minds, and so you may be disappointed. But I think everybody who's joining right now believes in God. I pray every time that we're going to put an offer, and I pray, when I know that I'm going to know that the right house, that we walked into the right house before you did, because I've seen many more houses than you, and I think I kind of get an idea of what you're looking for. And so when I look at this home, I kind of I pray I hope they pick this one. This is a good one. And so having fun, having faith, and moving forward with confidence it's awesome. Now I am going to, what time is it? 8:40. Okay, I have 20 minutes. Steps of the process. And this is kind of like a crash course on the moment you sat on the couch with your husband and you said, honey, I think we should buy a home, until the moment you get the keys in your hands. So I put this thing together a couple of weeks ago because I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to print this out and give it to my buyers so they can put her in the refrigerator. So they know, okay, we are here and we have 3 more steps to go. We have 2 more steps to go. I'm a goal-oriented person. I think I do better when I know what the finish line looks like. And so I created this for those people that need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so right now you are at the pre-purchase consultation. We're finding out everything about the market. We're finding out what's good and what's bad. And we are getting ready to decide, let's go look at homes. Or you are at the moment where you're still getting your financials ready, or you're still getting your home ready to put in the market. So there are many reasons why you're going to stay at the pre-purchase section. But once you have everything ready to go, we're going house hunting. We're going out and we're going to go look at that home. And we may look at 2 houses. I've gone out with people that look at 2 houses and the second house is the one, or they've been looking online for months and they've been looking at this one house that hasn't sold for months. And we finally we have everything ready and we go look at the house, and that's the house because they've been seeing it for months. It's still available. We put an offer and we get it. Those are great. And those are what we call layups. We get them easy, and we don't have to fight too much for them, and everybody's happy. But sometimes we have to look at many homes and put several offers before we get the one that we want, and that's okay too. You're not going to get any pressure from me to make a decision. I am going to advise you at some point, this is a really good deal. I think I've seen enough homes to tell you that I think this is a good one to kind of think about. Once we find the one, right, we are going to go to step number 2, which is making an offer. And this is where we kind of put our pedal to the metal. We want to move quickly. We want to be swift because we want to outthink, outsmart the competition. So we may go to an open house. At this point, I want to make a parenthesis here. So I am not abandoning you when I say there are going to be times where you're going to have to go to homes and look at them on your own. Why do I say that? Because I am, as much as I'm a buyer agent, I'm also a listing agent. I have homes that I'm hired to sell. And the whole point of an open house is that you open the home to buyers to come with or without their agent, so that when your buyers can also go out and look at homes as you're working. So you basically could be at 2 places at once. I have it as a habit that, let's say Daniel and Vanessa go to open houses on this weekend from 12 to 2, and they looked at 4 homes, and out of those 4 homes, one really called their attention. And they call me back and they say, Lucho, I really want to make an offer on this house, but I'm not sure. Or, dude, this is the one, we want to make an offer. I will put the offer together, but I will try my best to also go look at the house on my own. The reason why is because I like to be able to know what I'm negotiating, because you saw the home, you know what's so beautiful about it. I want to know as well what you liked about it, so that when I do make that offer, I can call positives, call negatives. I can negotiate with a stronger hand rather than just sitting there and saying, well, I hope this is the one, and then putting an offer. And so that making offer time, we may have to put an offer and compete with other people because you saw 30 people at that open house and there are other people making an offer. And at that point, we really have to make really strong offers. That's not the time to kind of wait out and see, let's put a low offer and see if we can negotiate. After seeing several homes, you're going to know which ones are the ones that are good and which are the ones that, wow, those Zillow pictures really lied to us. That kitchen looked huge because they used that, 4 times wide angle lens. In reality, when you get to the house, you can't even put a shoebox in the eating kitchen. And so that's going to happen. But then you're going to find the ones that are really good. And so making an offer at that point, it's important. Now, 2 things can happen. Well, 3 things can happen when you put in an offer. It can either be accepted or be rejected. The third one that's being rejected, it could be countered, which means it was kind of rejected, but we still have the light at the end of the tunnel. We can still come back and up our offer. Now, let's say it was rejected. Now, we can reevaluate the offer condition, meaning we can go back and say, okay, well, they rejected our offer because it was too low. Let's go up a little bit. Or let's change the terms. Maybe we're thinking about putting only 10% down. Let's put 20% down because the house doesn't really need that much work. So I don't have to have the cash reserves so that I can fix the kitchen or fix the bathroom. So let's put a little bit more down payment and make that offer a little bit stronger. Or we say, you know what, that was our highest and best offer and we don't want to move forward with a dollar more. And so we return to the household. We go back to the market and look at what's out there. Now, it can also be accepted. And hooray, you're going to get we're going to jump around. And the moment we are up in the air, I'm already back in the ground making phone calls to set up a home inspection. Sometimes it doesn't matter whether you do a home inspection or not because the seller is going to sell the home as is. So you might want to know what you're buying, and that's what the home inspection is for, but it's not going to be used to negotiate. Some homes are sold what it's called as is. They're priced really low or lower because the homeowner does not want to do anything. Let's say it's a estate sale. The parents died. The house hasn't been renovated since 1972, but you're getting it at a really good price. And so the house is going to be sold as is, and it's up to you to fix everything that's wrong. You may still want to do a home inspection so you know you're not buying a lemon, but it's not going to make a difference. Would I advise you to spend $600 on a home that you know you're going to have to fix everything? No. But if there are certain things that are really kind of you need to think about, then doing a home inspection is important. You'd rather spend $500 and find out that the boiler is 50 years old than don't spend $500 and find out after you close that you need to replace a $12,000 boiler. And so those $500 are pay themselves off in the first month when you move in the house. After the home inspection, whether you do it or not, we're going to go into contracts. And this is when, so from here, everything I said backwards, Deborah, your attorney, your home inspector are on vacation, chilling. They're not doing anything, and I'm doing all the work. But the moment the contracts go out, then Deborah takes over and your attorney takes over, and they go to work. They take that out, they take that contract. Let me go back a little bit. So what the contract part. So after you do the home inspection, what happens in this, there's a two-step process here. Once we agree on a price and some terms, the seller's attorney will draw up a contract. You have to think of two parties, right? The seller's attorney draws up the contract, sends it to your attorney. Your attorney, it's not going to like certain things on the contracts because he's hired to protect you. So they're going to go back and forth and decide that we want to take this language out. We want this, we want that. We're going to agree on a contract, right? That should take no more than 24 hours, 48 hours at most. At that point, your attorney is going to call you to come in and sign the contract and drop off your down payment. That contract and that down payment is going to go back to the seller's attorney. The seller is going to sign, and the house is going to come off the market. So let's say you do an open house. You go to an open house, and you are at the house, and it's a really hot house, and it's Saturday. And then you put an offer Sunday, and it gets accepted Monday. Let's say you don't sign contracts until Monday next week because certain steps have to go by. From the moment you got that offer accepted until the next Monday, that property is still on the market. Another buyer can still come and look at it. Another buyer can still make a higher offer, and your offer could still be put to the side because ultimately, unless the seller is honorable and fell in love with you, if somebody comes in with $15,000 higher than you, the seller's going to make a tough decision and say, look, this is really $15,000. I'm not going to leave that on the table and move forward. Sometimes they call you and they say, look, I got a higher offer. You have the first shot to come up, or they'll just take the other offer. It doesn't happen a lot. And that's when I say you kind of have to take things with a grain of salt. It just happens. It's nobody's fault but the market. It's just what it is. But the only thing that you can do is move quickly so that we can minimize the time from the moment that you looked at the house and loved it until you tied it up in a contract. And so let's say you tied it up in the contract and the house comes off the market. Nobody else is going to look at it. Deborah's going to take that contract and she's going to do her thing. And Deborah, you want to talk about what you do in that part a little bit?
Yeah. So when we get to the fun part with me, then we best friends. Then you wish you did not talk to me as much as because then it's like all the paperwork. Oh, but I already did this. It's updated, especially with COVID-19. It's just before COVID, like let's say if I had a bank statement and a pay stub, it was good for 120 days, which was 4 months. Now, 2 months, they want everything updated. So if you don't close in those 2 months, I'll be requesting more paperwork. So it's a lot of, when you sign the contract and the seller signs, that's when we have the fully executed contract of sale. That's when we meet or we start the mortgage process and you start signing the disclosures. And then I'll be requesting all the updated paperwork. So we kind of submit a complete file. So as soon as we get an appraisal, we can submit and get a commitment from your approval for your mortgage. Once we get that, a lot of people think, oh, I'm done, and I'm not. You're definitely not. You still, there's sometimes some more conditions that the underwriter, once she runs things that I can run, that she can see beyond, title, you can have title issues, so many things. And that's when we might request more paperwork until you get the clear to close. And
so when you get the clear to close, everybody jumps up in the air. We're excited because one, you're buying a house. Two, I'm getting paid. And three, it's just time to finally relax. We do the final walkthrough, which is after the contract conditions are we realistically, we only really look at the house the first time that you see it, maybe another time if we get a time to come back when we do the home inspection. So that's 3. And then the next time you see it, if the owner is allowed us, or if the house is vacant, we can come back to, let's say, take measurements, figure out how big the living room is so we can get a couch, all that stuff. So that's 4 times. And then right before we close, we do something called a final walkthrough. If at the home inspection we negotiated that they're going to fix a boiler, that there is a leak, that they're going to change some flashing on the roof, that they're going to fix the sprinkler system, that they're going to paint, that they're going to do whatever it is that was decided to do at the final walkthrough, all those things need to be done. So that when we get to a couple of days after at the closing, we know, hey, everything was done. I'm getting the house that I negotiated. I'm getting the house that I'm ready to get, and everything's lined up. Another part that's going in tandem at this time is your attorney is doing something called a title search. So they are hiring a title company to make sure that the house you're buying is free and clear of any liens or any debt. That there's not any open permits on the house. That there isn't any liabilities attached to the house that's going to come back to bite you, 10 years later when you're ready to sell it again. And so there are a lot of fail safes that happen after you go into contract that protect you. If anything, there are very few things that can happen during that process that can tie you up to the contract and not allow you to get out of it. There's an appraisal done to the property. So let's say you're having a home, and you find a house and you go crazy over it, and you won the Mega Millions, and the house is up for $400,000, and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna offer $600 for it because I really want it, and there are other buyers that are bidding for it, and I'm going crazy. Guess what? If the bank sends an appraisal to get the house appraised, and it appraises for $400,000, the difference you have to come up with cash. What that allows us to do is to offer higher amounts with the knowing that at some point when the appraisal is done, we're going to have to renegotiate. But at this point, we're not renegotiating with another 3 offers on the side that are also pesking on the side, but you're now negotiating with the bank. And that appraisal is the same appraisal that you would get, that any other buyer would get. So now at this point, the seller has no option but to renegotiate the deal. And so that's beneficial at that point. And then we close. The closing is about an hour, maybe 2, if it takes a little bit longer. Usually it takes about an hour at most. You sit at a table. Sometimes the seller is in the same table. Sometimes they're not. They're signing over the deed over to you. That takes 20 minutes. And then they sit back and they shake their hands and they do small talk and funny jokes until they hear we got funding. And that means that the bank released the funds and they're getting their money and you're getting a home. And then we go have lunch or we go have dinner and celebrate that you got a home. And so that's really the steps from the moment you look at a house until the moment you close in a snapshot. This can happen in 30 days. If everything's, clean and clear, it could take 2 months or 2.5 months. It depends on how quickly the seller is willing to close or able to close, how quickly you can gather up your documents and get everything ready to go. So there are many variants, but it's not a drawn out process forever. It shouldn't be. And so that's everything that I can think of within an hour that we can talk about. So thank you for you guys for joining me and listening to me rattle on for an hour. I think it was awesome. Nobody hopefully fell asleep. I'm not sure. I couldn't hear you anymore, so I don't know if anybody had any questions. Hopefully you wrote them down. I think you're muted. Are you?
Yes, we're